You ever wonder how some tiny, totally insignificant moment can just spiral into something huge, something that changes everything? Well, today, we're going to get into the science that explains exactly that. We're diving headfirst into the wild world of chaos theory.
Okay, to really get this, let's start with a mental picture. Just imagine a mountain peak, right? The clouds are gathering overhead, and now really focus in on the very first raindrops as they start to fall right there at the summit. Now picture two of those drops. They're basically twins, hitting at almost the exact same instant, and they're separated by just a few centimeters. I mean, a distance you wouldn't even notice.
But that tiny gap, it's everything. Because one drop lands on one side of the peak, and the other lands on the opposite side. And just like that, their futures, their entire journeys are completely different. And this little story, this tale of two raindrops, it's the perfect way to understand this whole thing. That initial difference, we're talking centimeters at the top of the mountain, can mean that by the time those drops hit the bottom, they could be miles and miles apart. Heck, they could end up in totally different rivers, flowing to different cities. A tiny, tiny difference at the start leads to a massive difference in the end.
So yeah, this isn't just some nice little metaphor. It's actually our way into the real science behind it. This is chaos theory. And trust me, it's one of the most misunderstood, but also one of the most fascinating ideas in all of science. Okay, let's break that down. The word to zero in on here is deterministic. See, chaos isn't just pure randomness. It means these systems, they actually follow rules. So in theory, you could predict them. But, and this is the huge but, they are so incredibly sensitive to those starting conditions that they become practically impossible to predict over any real length of time. And of course, this brings us to the most famous example of all, right? The butterfly effect. You've heard it. The idea that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil could, through this long, insane chain reaction of events, actually cause a tornado over in Texas. It sounds nuts, but it perfectly captures the spirit of the idea. A tiny input can have a gigantic, system-altering impact. Now, this is super important to get right. A chaotic system, like the weather, it looks random, but it's not. It follows the laws of physics. There are patterns deep down inside. True randomness, on the other hand, think of the static on an old TV. There are no rules there. There's no pattern, no way to predict what comes next. They are not the same thing at all.
All right, so this is cool for weather and physics, but so what? Well, the amazing thing is, the principles of chaos pop up all over the place in our everyday lives in ways you'd never expect.
I mean, just look at this list. It's wild. From a single protest sparking an entire revolution, to one drop of a chemical flipping an entire solution from acid to base. Or think about a paperclip. You bend it, it bends back. You bend it again, it bends back. You do it over and over, and then, with one tiny extra push, it just snaps. That's the principle in action. Let's dig into that anger example, because we've all been there. It starts with something so small, right? A comment that rubs you the wrong way. A minor annoyance. That's your tiny starting point. But then your thoughts grab onto it and they start to spiral, building and building until, boom, you're in a massive fight. That tiny seed of irritation just grew into a forest of conflict. Now, are all of these things chaotic in the strict mathematical sense? Well, no, not really. But what they all share is that one fundamental trait of chaos theory, an extreme, almost crazy sensitivity to their starting points.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the one big thing we should take away from all this? It's about recognizing the incredible, outsized power that the smallest things can have. And this right here, this is the idea of a tipping point. So many systems, whether it's in nature or in our lives, are just hovering right on the edge of a big change. They seem stable, they seem fine, until they're not. And the little push it takes to send them over that edge can be almost nothing at all.
Look, if there's only one thing you remember from our chat today, let it be this. From raindrops on a mountain, to a butterfly's wings, to one word in a conversation, tiny differences at the beginning can and absolutely do create completely different worlds in the end. You know, this isn't just some abstract science lesson. It's really a lens you can use to look at your own life. It shows you just how much those small actions, those little kindnesses, those minor decisions really matter. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. What tiny, almost invisible choice are you making today that could be setting you on a whole new path for tomorrow?